Nice, nice, nice. Hey Nick, what's going on? How are you today?
Good morning. I am trying to learn that tune
Yeah,
and
what is
having a
that?
mixed time with it. It's oh my god, it's actually I learned it a couple months ago, and I'm blanking on the guy's name, Jerry something. He's a great like kind of 50s and 60s guitarist, kind of an Elvis type. He's got this really cool turnaround that maybe we could even do in a live stream once. It's a uh,
Nice.
It's a nice little fancy way to finger pick through a E
That's
minor
fun.
turnaround. But anyway, not
Oh,
what we're
that's
doing today.
no, not what we're doing today. We're going to talk about major and minor bar chords, right?
That is indeed what
What
we are
major
talking
and
about.
minor bar chords? What I meant to write there was what are major and minor bar chords. I'll just fix that in a second. Do you want to take us
Yeah,
through what you want to talk about today?
sure. Well, so the answer to the typo question, if you're just asking what major, minor bar chords, would be all of them, because that's the fun thing about bar chords is I think like when guitarists when most people start out, you're learning like open position chords, right? You've got like your open C, your open G, your A minor, all this stuff. And it can feel a little bit like you're memorizing a different shape for each chord, and it's
Mm-hmm.
kind of easy to I don't know get lost in that. The thing I like about bar chords is that you you can basically use the same position for every chord. For instance, like your G major bar chord looks like this, and your B flat major bar chord looks like that. It's really exactly the same position, or exactly the same shape. Here's your D flat, your A. You bet you're just sliding around the same little template. Um, so that makes things a lot easier. The trick is just getting that shape down, which is a little easier said than done.
Right.
So yeah, if I was to work this from the ground up with a new student, I would actually start with power chords,
Mm-hmm.
which is kind of the foundation of bar chords. I don't want to get too into that, but just to give a brief overview, you're going to be using your first finger and then your third and pinky. And let's just say you're starting on your low E string. I kind of think of this as like a box shape where you've got your first finger on what we call your root. That's like if you're trying to play a G chord, your root is the note G. It's the note that is like the chord is being based on. So here's your G on the third fret of the low E string. If you're watching, you can try this as I'm doing it. Make sure you got that note really nice, like on the tip of your finger. You have that good arch that we've talked about in some other videos. Your third finger is going to go one string across and two frets up. And then your pinky is going to kind of snuggle right up behind that third finger. And you have this really beautiful open sound. And this is kind of what I mean by the box, where you have basically like it's going across two strings and going across two frets in terms of the span of the chord. You with me so far?
Yeah, yeah. Keep going.
Great. So if you just want to kind of get used to that before we start dropping the full bar in there, I think it's good to slide this around a little bit. Nice thing about power chords is that they sound pretty good just about anywhere you play them. And they're also another great example of like the shape staying the same, even though the pitch of the chord is different. One thing you also might want to try to do is move this whole shape one string over, so that you've got your root on the A string And then again, your third and pinky are just kind of following suit. They'll be on the D and G string in this shape as opposed to the A and D. So again, you're just moving the whole shape one string over. For now, we're only going to go on the E and A string. We're not going to get further down the neck than that for reasons that will become clear later. But yeah, so those are your power chords. And again, that's the really just like the core foundation of what bar chords are. If you want to get a little further in, this is when we start talking about the bar. So what you have here is basically the first three notes are just a power chord, and then you have whatever's going on here. Before we explain what that is, you'll notice that I've basically got my first finger laying across all these strings. And before we even talk about like what this upper position is and how the chord itself is built, a couple notes about how to play the bar. I think a lot of people assume that you're just laying your first finger like flat over the neck. And especially when you're lower on the neck, this gets into a lot of like weird physical positions where your elbow is like way out here. You might feel some pain in the back of your shoulder. It's also kind of hard to get the chord to sound good. This is just all horrible. I'm doing this and my wrist hurts. It's no good. What you want to actually get comfortable doing is pulling that elbow into your body and being okay with the fact that your first finger is actually going to be pressing against the strings kind of on its side. So not on the middle, more kind of this outer edge of it, if that makes sense.
Yep.
And yeah, so you're pulling your elbow in, to me at least, especially again on these lower on the neck chords, this is going to give you like a much more comfortable way of doing it. Once you get up here, you don't have to worry about pulling your elbow in and making sure you stay on that same side. You'll kind of naturally tip forward a little bit. But that's once you kind of have this down, your elbow will naturally come out in almost kind of like a fulcrum way as you're playing up the neck. So I'm never too concerned about that. People tend to get that on their own pretty quickly. I like to start down here and really make sure we're like straight back, good posture, elbow in, pressure on the side of the first finger. Yeah. So if you're trying this at home and you're playing a bar for the first time, you might even just want to try just your first finger and see if you can get that big open sound. And yes, I'm seeing you're throwing up the first major chord. So yeah, there's no fret number written there, if you notice. And again, the reason is because you can just slide that everywhere. These are all 4 bar chords. Can we actually go back to that first major chord?
Yep.
Yes.
No, that's not right. That's a minor chord. Sorry, guys. Here we go.
There we go. Okay, so just like with the power chords, we're going to be talking about bar chords that are based either on the low E string, either on the low E string or the A string. What you see up on the screen right now is a major bar chord based on the low E string. And we haven't even talked about the difference between major and minor. I've been playing all major chords. Minor, to me, sounds a little sadder, a little more somber. The difference between major and minor is this second finger right here. And if we want to get into some theory, that is the third of the chord. Or, so it's do, re, mi, or do, re, mi. That's what makes what we call the quality of the chord. Quality is major or minor. So again, we're paying attention to this second finger. In the chart, I actually darkened the third. So right now you're looking at the note that's on the G string. It's in between the bar and the notes that you're playing with your third and pinky. It's a darker circle. That is the major third of this chord. And again, to be totally clear, I'm playing all of these on G. You can play them wherever. It does not matter. So again, if you're watching this at home, try playing this chord. Just to reiterate, we've got our elbow in, side of the finger, and you especially want to be really careful about getting this second finger, your major third, nice on the tip. Make sure your finger's arched like that. Because if you're trying to like flat finger it, or as people commonly do, kind of hyperextend this finger and look more like this, as opposed to arched out like this, you might be kind of bonking against the B string and muting it, which is a big problem. So yeah, that's your G major. Let's flip to minor on the E string. Can we go to the next slide?
Oh, yep, sorry. Minor on the E-type minor.
Mm-hmm.
My eyes are failing me. Here we go.
There we go. So you can take the same kind of bass, and all you do is take off your second finger. And you can kind of just like, I feel like I tend to let it just rest against my first finger. A quick thought about getting this note, this minor third that will actually be part of your first finger bar. A lot of people have trouble with this. I try to line up my big knuckle with the G string. It's the most important note of this chord, and it's also the hardest to come out. And for most people, this knuckle will like protrude a little bit more away from the rest of the finger. So if you line up the side of that knuckle with the G string, you can have like a little bit of a secret weapon to get that note to come out. So take a minute and slide these minor chords around. Yeah. And once you have that, you can move on to shifting over to the A string. So let's pop over to the A string major bar chord.
Okay.
Bam. Yes. So again, just like we talked about with the power chords, you are taking the same shape and moving it over. So let's take our G chord, and now we're moving it over to the A string. In case you're wondering, this is now a C chord. And because of the notorious G string to B string tuning problem, where everything else is tuned in fourths, and you suddenly have this third there, instead of playing the entirely same shape as major, you need to compensate for that by moving this note up one fret. So there is your major bar chord starting on the A string. There's a couple ways to play this. I prefer to kind of have all three of these fingers, second, third, and pinky, grabbing this little cluster right here, and then barring with my first finger. If this last note isn't coming out, that's not the end of the world. If you're only getting these four notes, you're getting the meat of the chord, so it's not the biggest deal. You can even, if you really want to get adventurous, forego the first finger bar, only grab this low note, and then bar with your third finger. This one can be a little bit trickier for beginners, but I like it a lot. I think it slides easier. The trick to this is actually almost the opposite of what we talked about with the elbow for the original bar chord. Instead of pulling your elbow in, you actually want to let your elbow pop out so that you're, instead of on this part of your third finger, you're actually on the outside, the side of your third finger that faces your pinky. Push the elbow out, let that side of the finger actually kind of be like thrust into the neck by the opposing weight of your elbow. And then bam, you have a nice C chord. And just another interesting little tidbit, your A major chord, down here, your open A major chord, is actually the same shape as this. If you put your finger kind of against where the open string would be, you can see that. You know, if this was 1 fret higher, it would just be your bar chord shape, but because we're down here, the open strings are covering what your first finger normally would. So that's how I kind of connect these things to open position in my head.
Cool, cool.
And just to wrap it up, let's hit the last minor one.
Yeah, we got 1 minute left here.
All right, minor. So we take our major shape, and just like we did on the low E string chords, to get from a major third to a minor third, we have do, re, mi, down 1/2 step. Finish out our power chord. Get this nice and close up. So this is actually a much simpler chord. It's also the same shape, kind of coincidentally, as the low E string major chord. Pay no attention to that. That'll only confuse you, but that's what we have going on here. So quick reiteration of everything. G major, G minor, C major. Here's the alternate voicing for that. And then C minor. And that is a very speedy overview of major and minor bar chords.
Excellent. Oh, okay. Great. You can find more information on this at practice-pad.com. Real Brave brings you Practice Pad, which is a online platform for learning. You can get live one-on-one lessons. You can get more of this by signing up there. If you're already on Practice Pad, bravo. Nick, thank you for your time today. This has been a lesson on bar chords, major and minor, and I'm sure we'll do more of this soon. Thanks, Nick.
Sounds good. Thank you.